So there are 7 things that you need to be aware of if you're joining the police in 2025. If you're not cognizant of these changes in the recruitment process nationally and also within certain forces, it could completely derail your application, your dreams of becoming a police officer in 2025, or even, as I'm going to talk to you about in this video, in 2026. So what's going on? 7 really weird things that weren't going on last year. I'm going to talk to you about what those things are and how to mitigate against the problems that those 7 things and more are causing. So who am I to give you advice about police recruitment? My name's Brendan from Blue Light, and over the past 31 years now, I've been supporting people for promotion boards, specialist interviews within the police and the police recruitment process. I joined the police service in 1985. So, wow, this is my 40th year in the police sector. Wow. So I've helped support thousands of people just like you to success. And I've seen all sorts of changes come and go within the police recruitment process. But these are some really unusual ones. Some I've seen before during austerity, and some are different, new. And I'm going to talk to you about those new things and some of the old things that have re-emerged in this video. So pin your ears back, folks. This could make the difference between a pass success in the recruitment process and a dismal fail. So first of all, a shameless plug for our Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Blue Light Police Recruitment and Career Development Facebook group, join over 25,000 members of that group for more value-laden guidance and advice like this. Check the link below, join the group, and I'll see you on the other side. In the meantime, so first of all, Met Police. What's going on with the Met Police? They're having to lose 2,300 police officers over the next year or so, which means they're still recruiting. But for those people who are already in the recruitment pipeline and have been successful in their behavioural styles questionnaire, the online assessment centre, and the thing they call the day 2, which is actually final interview and role plays, they've all been put on hold until at least September, whilst they try and work out what on earth are they going to do to reduce those numbers. Or perhaps they're holding out from extra funding from the government. Yes, it's funding from the government that's causing all of these issues. So just before Christmas, the government released the police funding formula, all the budget for the police forces all across England and Wales. And it was good news for some. Well, it was mediocre news for some, and it was terrible news for others, because a big chunk of the funding is having to come from local taxes. And forces can, policing and crime commissioners and mayors who run those police forces effectively in terms of the finances, can only raise that money from band D and above properties. Think leafy 3-bedroom suburban house in leafy Surrey. That's a sort of band D property. So there's some force areas that just don't have properties like that, or many of them. So they're limited in how much money they can raise. And also, although they don't have to, most policing and crime commissioners are going out to consultation to say, do you agree with me raising your council tax so that we can pay for the services that we provide in policing? More about that in a moment. West Yorkshire Police have got a really interesting conundrum going on there. So that's the background. The Commissioner for the Met was talking about a lot more than 2,300, but now that's the number they're talking about. They're reducing the number of promotions internally. They're cutting back on specialist squads. There's a lot going on. And whilst they have this massive resourcing review, I think they've just put a halt on all recruitment progressing. So why are they still recruiting? Well, if you can imagine like hundreds and hundreds of people being told that we are putting back your start dates, potential start dates. We're not going to be doing anything with you until at least September. And even then, that won't be a start date. That'll be when we start re-vetting you. And they'll have a better idea about the numbers then. Well, I wouldn't be hanging around. I'd be applying to other forces, or I'd be going to get a different job or find a different career, because I can't hang around for the police to make their mind up. I've already been in a process that's probably taken up to a year. I'm not going to wait for another year for maybe having a career opportunity within the Metropolitan Police. And so what they're banking on, well, they're not banking on it, they're hoping people won't dip out of the process, but in case they do, they're going to keep recruiting so they can fill up that talent pool full of individuals who can slot into place should they find the money under the rug, down the back of the sofa. Wherever they're going to go to try and find the money, they've got to find the money somewhere. to recruit the sort of numbers that they want to recruit. So that's what's going on in the Met Police, and a little bit about what's going on nationally. So let's take a look at number 2, South Wales Police. I've never seen this before. This is something I've never seen before. They have opened up only for their police constable entry program. This is where you don't do a degree. You will join the police and you'll go through your initial training. It's a little bit like how it used to be before the whole degree gate thing. It's just called something different now. It used to be called the Initial Police Learning and Development Program. It's been rebranded now. It's like rinse and repeat, stick it through ChatGPT and we'll create a new thing that's called the Police Constable Entry Program. Now, this is normally open to people who have got like 2 A-levels, which you've got to have for this, and you are 17 and above. You can only actually join when you're 18, but you can apply when you're 17. However, what South Wales Police have done is said, we are only going to accept people who've worked for 3 years in the past 5 years in an allied sector. So things like the health service, teaching, social work, those sort of sectors, housing associations. If you've worked in those kind of sectors, then as long as it's for 3 years in the past 5, then you can apply. If you haven't, then that's it. You can't apply. You don't meet the criteria. And this is really interesting because I've not seen this before. What I have seen is forces saying 2 A-levels, or if you have service in these allied sectors and you can demonstrate certain skills and values, then we'll accept you in lieu of the 2 A-levels. This is different. This is saying 2 A-levels and service in an allied sector. So that's cutting out so many people who could potentially have applied to South Wales Police. I've not seen this before. This is a new development. The only way to actually get around it is, well, you need 3 years service out of the past 5 in an allied sector. What I would say though is think imaginatively. So we've got someone who has actually got in now. They're 17 years old now. They're going to be 18 in about a month, I think. And they've got a start date for just after. It's like 1 or 2 weeks after they turn 18, which is just amazing. Side chat for you. Age has got nothing to do with it. It's your experience. So when people tell you age 17 or 18, you need more life experience to join the police, that's just a big urban myth. And this individual proves that case in point. But one of the things they've been doing over the past 3 or 4 years is volunteering at their youth centre, at their youth club. So they joined a youth club when they were sort of 11 years old. And when they became 13, 14, they started volunteering as one of the young leaders. Now, I think we could probably write that up in such a way that it would fit within the allied sector requirement, because it also talks about youth services as one of the allied sectors. Well, this is like youth services. Anyway, we'd give you a hand with that. We'd give you a hand writing it up in an imaginative way if it came to it. So number 3, Thames Valley Police, they've actually taken it off their website now, but recently on their website, it talked about how at your online assessment centre, you need a higher score. You need more than just a pass to get through to the next stage. Now, this is interesting, and this has happened before when forces have had a bit of a squeeze during austerity. They just raised the pass mark because, of course, the same number of people are applying for fewer places. And the Policing and Crime Commissioner for Thames Valley Police has already talked about how they're going to have to reduce the numbers by 66, very precise, 66 officers. And so there's less vacancies, which means that they've got to raise the pass mark. So that's an interesting development. And we've also seen one of our clients get notification that they passed their online assessment centre, but it didn't just say, you've passed your online assessment centre, well done, stand by for your final interview date. It actually said, your marks were sufficiently high to take you through to the next stage. So they passed, but it was with sufficiently high marks. And I think that's an interesting development as well. This isn't new. We saw this during austerity. We saw pass marks that were 50 being raised by forces to 65. The highest we saw was 68%. So this isn't a new thing. So number 4 interesting thing, Nottinghamshire Police. They are advertising only at this moment in time for detective constables, the detective constable direct entry, detective constable transferees, and authorised firearms officers as transferees. So if you're looking to go through the recruitment process in Nottinghamshire, the only route in is the degree holder entry program for detectives. We are reliably informed that other individuals who are already in the process with Nottinghamshire are going to have to wait until 2026 before their recruitment has progressed, and we believe it will be 2026 before they actually open up the uniform entry route for police constables, although that could change if they suddenly find some money down the back of the sofa. So that's nothing new. We've seen this before, where forces have limited their recruitment to a certain type of recruitment, although I've got to say there's more varieties of recruitment now. We're going to do a video very soon on all the different entry routes, but that is another interesting development. So Nottinghamshire Police, if you want to be a detective, great. If you want to be a uniformed constable, you might have a bit of a wait. Okay, number 5, West Yorkshire Police. They've opened up their application forms, but only if you are from a minority group. And this isn't a new development. We've seen this play out before, and it's perfectly legal, and I actually support it, because the police service needs to be more diverse, because it really doesn't represent the communities that it's meant to be a part of. And this was one of the founding principles from Sir Robert Peel in 1829. And so what they've done is they've said you can apply to join us only if you are from one of the following minority groups. At the point of us opening up for recruitment, you'll be treated the same as everyone else in terms of final interview, online assessment centre, national SIFT, but your application will already be in. Now, if you are not from one of the minority groups, then you're having to wait until the recruitment window opens. This is interesting. I've seen this play out before during austerity, when some forces were trying to direct all their efforts to try and improve the diverse makeup of the force. Because one force did exactly this, and they opened up their recruitment window for 4 hours. That was it, just 4 hours. And they gave a heads up to all of the individuals who'd not applied but had shown an interest, who were from minority groups, that at a certain time we're going to open up for recruitment, and it's going to be, it didn't say it's going to be for 4 hours. When we hit a certain number, we're going to close the window. And so they closed it after 4 hours. A lot of people missed it completely. So West Yorkshire Police, I don't think they'll be opening just for 4 hours, but who knows what their window will be. When they do open for recruitment, you can apply and you'll join that pool that already exists, but they could close the window as soon as they open it or shortly after. And why are they not going to open up for recruitment like they normally do? Well, their Policing and Crime Commissioner has already gone on record to say, depending on whether you approve the Band D increase in council tax, then we're going to be either 14 million short or 17 million short. So 14 million short or 17 million short. We've actually heard from our internal ethical spies, people who are in the service who talk to us, and they're not telling us any top secret stuff here, but we believe the number's more like 20 to 21 million that they're going to have as a shortfall. That's a massive, massive number. And so we believe it's going to be 400 officers or less recruited over the next year or so, when ordinarily it'd be a lot more than that, probably twice that number. So West Yorkshire Police, thinning the pipeline. I think they might even thin it a little bit more. Number 6, British Transport Police. So we've talked a lot about Home Office forces. British Transport Police have got an 8.5 million shortfall. They're closing 17 police stations, and they've already gone out to the media to say that this crisis that they're in, this financial crisis that they're in, will reduce numbers. So the only way to reduce numbers is to stop recruiting. And by the way, about 80% plus of all police budgets get spent on salaries. So the only way to reduce the shortfall, because they've pretty much, most forces have sold off all the stations and sold off all the crown jewels. BTP have found 17 stations that they're going to close. Those are probably those stations that are open, but no one's ever at them anyway, so it won't make that much difference. BTP is an amazing force, but they've got a shortfall of 8.45 million. So they're having a resourcing review at the moment. That's what they're calling it. Read into that. We've just stopped recruiting. So everyone who's in the pipeline already have just left in limbo. And there's no updates as to when they're going to open up the recruitment process. Who knows when it's going to be? We also know from our internal sources that more people are staying and they're not leaving. Normally there's sort of an expected rate of people leaving mid-career. You can work out how many people are going to retire just from the length of service, but there's also a certain percentage that you can kind of rely on normally that are going to leave mid-service. Well, that number isn't reliable anymore. A lot of people are actually staying, and that's causing BTP to sort of scratch their head and think, what we're going to do, how we're going to reduce this shortfall. We're just going to have to stop recruiting and sell off the stations. So BTP, if you have a dream to join British Transport Police, I'd perhaps think about applying to a Home Office force first, get your foot in the door, and then wait until there's a moment where you can actually transfer to BTP, because that's happened before. Number 7 thing that's going on, and the last one, forces like Lincolnshire Police leaving people hanging. So we've got a lot of people in our academy program. This is where we help people to succeed through one-to-one coaching, small group webinars, online material, recordings of webinars, a massive amount of material to help people succeed in the process. We've got clients who have passed everything for Lincolnshire Police, and they're just being left sort of hanging. They don't know what's going on. They're being told their intake date will be maybe, could be, or probably. We're seeing lots of words like that at the moment in March, but they've just heard nothing. Our internal sources tell us that it might be a while before they actually set a firm date, and it may be a smaller number of people in that intake. Why? Well, the Lincolnshire PCC has already gone out there to say that they're going to have a massive funding shortfall. They've not given us a number yet, but it's out there in the press. And of course, this results in less officers. And so quite a few forces are doing this. They're just leaving people hanging. Just like you're in a recruitment process, we will notify you when the next stage is going to be. That's it. So 7 things. There's a lot more things going on as well, but those are sort of 7 things that leapt to mind. Some of those things are actually new. They've never happened before. Other things have happened before. So how do we mitigate all of this? So if we're in the recruitment process, or we want to be in the recruitment process, we've got a dream to join the police in 2026, it's still possible. I'm not saying forces aren't recruiting. All I'm saying is that the pipeline has thinned out, and we've seen this happen before. So we've advised people on what to do before as well, especially our academy members. So we work closely with them to make sure that they explore every option so we can help them secure that warrant card in their pocket in 2026. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about that, you can just drop us a line through the links below, complete a form, join the Facebook group, message me, email us, brendan@bluelightconsultancy.com. That's BRENDAN, by the way. Any of those means, and we'll tell you a little bit more about how you can join the academy program and guarantee your result. We actually do guarantee the result, by the way. If you don't pass, we give you a refund. Can't say further than that, can we? Anyway, things to do to mitigate against these issues. If your chosen force is actually closed for recruitment, we want to get ahead of the game. So there's nothing stopping you applying for any force in England and Wales that runs the online assessment centre and the national SIFT, with a view to just getting those 2 things in your back pocket. So when they do open up for recruitment, you are already ahead of the game. Make sense? All right, number 2 thing you can do, once you've done that, is you can start applying for multiple forces. Even though some forces say, no, you can't, College of Policing guidelines, yes, you can. Now, you can go back to them with the College of Policing guidelines and say, yeah, but they could still turn around and say, yeah, but all you want. But we set the rules. These are our rules for our force, and you can only apply to us. If you want to apply to other forces, you're going to have to drop them and choose us, or choose them and drop us. Now, most forces don't do that, but some will. You've just got to try and negotiate with them. They will ask you the question, have you got any other applications in? You've got to be honest. If you're not honest, they're going to fail you on integrity. So you can apply to multiple forces, and that keeps all of your options open. And the person who's got the most options is always capable of making the best decisions. Make sense? Awesome. The third thing you can do, make sure when you pass with high marks. Because if they are thinning out the pipeline, then, and there's only 50 places as opposed to 150 places available, then they've got to pick those 50. And there's case law behind this. The only way they can do that is based on your score. It doesn't matter about where you live or what minority group you come from or what educational qualifications you've got. It's got to be based on your score in the SIFT online assessment centre, final interview, or all of them, or one of them. They've got to pick. They've got to pick. They can't just select you based on, yeah, we like this one more than that one. It's got to be based on the scores. There's a stated case behind it, went all the way to the High Court. So that naturally means that we've got to be aspiring to get the highest marks to guarantee that we're in that next intake. So that's the third thing we can do. If you are constrained by a geographic limit, like a family or whatever it might be, you've got some kind of constraint which means you can only apply for one force, then you've just got to make sure that you're watching that window of opportunity in your force. And as soon as they open up, I'll be checking every day the website. If they're closed at the moment, check every day for when they do open up. Register your interest if it allows you to do that. Send them an email, drop them an email. When are you looking to open up for recruitment? Show a severe interest in their recruitment process and watch their website every day. Check it in the morning, check it in the evening. And as soon as they open up for recruitment, boom, get your application in. Make sure you've got things like your national insurance number, your educational qualifications. Make sure you've got all your certificates. Make sure you've got everything together in a bundle, as opposed to looking around for something that you can't find. You can't remember what grades you got, and you can't complete the application form until you put the grades down. You can't find your certificates, you can't remember the grades, and suddenly the window closes and you've just got to wait 6 months before you can reapply. We don't want that. Get prepared, get prepared. And the fifth thing to do, quite simply, you've just got to get high marks at every stage. Otherwise, you could end up in something called a talent pool. Now, what this is, we've seen this play out before in austerity. This is when you passed everything, but your marks weren't high enough to get you into the next intake. What happens, though, is you stay in the talent pool and they'll still be recruiting, and other people will skip over you because they're getting higher marks. You just stay in a talent pool. It's not a good place to be, a talent pool. Or they could just do what Cheshire, my old home force, did years ago. They just wrote to you to say, well done, you've passed everything, but your marks weren't high enough, so you're out of the process now. Hard luck. They didn't say hard luck, but it was like hard luck. You passed everything, well done, but your marks weren't high enough to secure a place in the next intake. So we've got to make sure we get the highest marks. So there you go, folks. 7 interesting things that are going on in police recruitment, plus 5 things to mitigate against those interesting things. Hope you found this useful. See you inside the Facebook group, or if you're one of our Academy members, reach out to your coach if you're having any problems and we can help you through working through some of these conundrums in our one-to-ones. If you're not part of that Academy program and you want to explore joining it, we'll have an hour-long conversation with you where we'll explore whether it's a good fit or not. So complete the form below that's in the blurb, and we'll see you on the other side. Take care. Bye-bye for now.